Here are 3 life lessons that I've learned from doing 300 podcast episodes in the last 4 years. This month, we've just hit the 4th year that the Dream Out Loud podcast has been aired and live, and this is the 300th episode. So I wanted to do something kind of special this time and give you something that you can really apply to business and all areas of life in general. So that way, if you've been a podcast listener since day one, then you'll really resonate to this. But if you're brand new, just coming to the channel right now, then you're still gonna get a lot of value from this, even if you've never listened to me ever before. So let's get right into it. When COVID first hit, I was one of the COVID podcast babies that had been putting off my podcast for about 18 months. And I thought now is the best time to actually record this thing because I'm locked down in my house. And what better way to actually get my voice out than to finally kick off my podcast. So a little bonus lesson before I even get into the 3 is how I thought in my head was this. As soon as the idea came in that, hey, that's a good idea, I should do that now. To me, then launching the podcast, having my first episode up was the space of about 10 days. And one of the things that I teach people all around the world now is that your success will really come down to the shortest you can make the time period between an idea to execution of the idea. And I really think that's been one of the things that's really helped me in all areas of business. I now have 4 different companies. I've done lots of really cool things in my life. And that is one of the things I think about a lot is when I have an idea, how long is it going to take me before I actually execute on that idea? The shorter you can actually make that, the more successful you'll be in this life. Because the faster you'll be able to get feedback and data on what's working and what's not working, so you can finally put it into improving the thing and making it even better. So within 10 days, I thought of a name. I got my friend to take a photo of me on their phone. I sent it to a designer. I got a front cover made up. I did my first episode and we were off to the races. But I remember when I first started this, I asked myself, Morgan, what's the goal here? I said to myself, I'm gonna make this the best freaking podcast I can possibly do. And the last 4 years, we've gone to number 6 in Australia for entrepreneurship and personal development. We've gone to the top 100 in USA. We've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of downloads in over 100 countries around the world and had some of my biggest idols in the time on the podcast, which is absolutely crazy to think about now. And the only way we've been able to do that is by all of you who actually listen to this, that have subscribed to this, that have reviewed it and shared an episode. So if that has never been you, I just want to really take this time right now to say massive thank you. I really appreciate you. And I ain't freaking slowing down. So when I was reflecting on this, what really made this podcast as successful as what it has been so far, the first thing was when I asked myself, what is the goal? And the goal was to just do 1,000 episodes. That was it. That was the goal. It was never actually to be, I want to be the number 1. I want to get millions of downloads. I want to meet all these amazing guests. It was never that. What it was I'm going to just do 1,000 episodes because I know that by recording 1,000 episodes, I'm going to really improve my speaking skills. I'm going to be able to make a big impact on the world. But most importantly, I'm going to figure out how to freaking do this thing. And in my opinion, until I've done 1,000 reps of it, I don't have enough data to ever even contemplate the thought of ever quitting. So once I got started, I set the goal, 1,000 episodes, and I committed to the journey. And I've changed and I've pivoted the whole way through. I started by doing 1 every single week, then I was doing 2 every single week, then 3 every single week, then that was too much, so I did 2, and then 1, and then I had a conversation with Ali Abdul, and Ali said to me, he said, just do 2 guest episodes a month now and do 4 solo ones. So that's what we're doing now. We're doing 6 episodes a month at the moment. And that's kind of helped us get better quality guests on the show and sort of slow down because also this in itself is a business and it's a lot to manage. And because of this commitment, I literally remember just last year, at the end of last year, I was really thinking about actually quitting the podcast. I was like, I don't know if I want to do it anymore. It's not really growing as fast as I like. It costs too much money. Is this really what I want to do? And I remember sitting down with Chris Williamson, the host of the Modern Wisdom podcast, asking him about his podcast. And I asked him, I said, when did yours really start to pop off? And he's like, about 6 years in. I'm like, wow, okay. I'm just a beginner still. And after having a conversation with him about how he sort of approaches his podcast and the way he thinks about interviewing his guests and preparing, it completely made me realize that I was nowhere near treating it as seriously as what I could. So the very next episode, I prepared, I got ready, I made it better than what I've ever done before. And that was the Sarah Al-Madani podcast. And that episode, still to this day, is the #1 most played episode I've ever had on the podcast. We've done hundreds of thousands of downloads just on that one episode alone. and it grew our channel by thousands of subscribers, and people still to this day are sharing clips from that episode. So the lesson from this first lesson is, if I didn't commit to 1,000 episodes, I would have probably given up before even having that interview with Sarah. And it's kind of like that meme, if you've ever seen, where the two people digging for gold, and just before they strike gold, the person quits and walks back the other way, because you never actually know how close you are to your next massive win. And the only way you're going to find out is if you fully commit to the actual journey itself, release the emotional attachment from the short-term results and activity. And this is something I apply to every area of my life, because I understand that self-esteem is the one thing that really drives all human behavior. We will go after in life whatever we believe we're worthy of having. And one of the things that grows our self-esteem is committing to the things we said we were going to do long after the feeling in which we said it has gone. So the days in which it's not working for me and I don't like it, I'm not having a win, those are the days that matter the absolute most, is to keep showing up and remember what I committed to from the beginning. The second most important thing I learned was this: outsource whatever you're not good at and whatever doesn't bring you in money as fast as you possibly can. The amount of people that have gotten started in podcasts in my space now that I still know that edit all their own episodes, edit their videos, their clips, and all this stuff blows my freaking mind. And I ask them, I say, are you good at those things? And they're like, not really, but I've learned how to be good at it. I said, do you enjoy them? And they say, not really. So then I ask them, why don't you outsource it then to somebody else? And this is where a lot of entrepreneurs actually get trapped in doing the work all the time, because they're scared to invest in talent to make their product or their business a lot better than what it currently is. And this is something I did from the very beginning. I had an idea to create this awesome podcast, but instantly I knew that I am not a tech guy. I'm not someone to edit audio, post it onto the platforms, anything like that. In fact, to this day, I have never edited one piece of audio. I've never edited one video, one reel, one clip, and I have zero idea how to even upload the episode to the platform that gets it onto these streaming platforms that you're watching this or listening to it right now. Because from the beginning, I outsourced every single thing that I wasn't good at and I wasn't interested to learn, so I could stay in just my zone of genius. And the craziest thing has happened from this. This is why it's so important. Listen to this. Because I learned how to outsource, then I learned how to build the infrastructure and the systems to get the results. I've now created another company from doing this. Because I figured out the systems on how to get amazing content out there, get in touch with awesome guests, and grow a really great brand from podcasting, I co-founded a company called Dojo Media, which is a podcast agency where we specialize in helping entrepreneurs and business owners expand and elevate their brand through a podcast. So for people like who I was 4 years ago, who had no idea, I wish I found something like Dojo back in the day, because I could just hit them up and have them do every single thing for me without me actually having to figure out how to put all the pieces together. So what I did for my first 3 years along the journey, I outsourced everything and then tried to glue it all together to make this incredible system for it to work. Once they figured that out, I created a company out of that. And in its first year, we already did multiple six figures. And this year, we're going to absolutely scale this thing to the next level. So because of my attitude of wanting to outsource what I didn't like, it allowed me to sit in a position that I was good at, the more creative, the more ideas person. And I started to think about, how can I take this creation I've just made and make more money from it? And bang, we've started another company because of me building this podcast. We all know that attention is the new currency in this modern world. So we're super passionate about wanting to help other business owners actually blow up their brand through podcasting. So if you do want help from Dojo Media, find me on Instagram, Morgan T. Nelson, and just send me a message. I reply to all my DMs and I can connect you with our team and we can see how we can help you explode your brand as well. And the third lesson is something I live my life on still to this day. And it's this: if you don't ask, you don't get. I remember standing in my shower when I was about 3 months into my journey, thinking about these amazing guests I want to bring on my show. And I was thinking to myself, I could never ask them to come on my podcast, because who am I? I'm just this small podcast, and I convinced myself so much that I could never even reach out to them and have a conversation and bring them on. Until my partner at the time said to me, just message them. Your podcast is great. The worst thing they can say to you is no. So just message them. And I remember putting this big pitch together, asking one of my friends, he was a friend of mine at the time, but I had put him on such a big pedestal. And I asked him, I said, hey, would you want to come on my podcast if I do this and this and this and this and this? And he just said, sure, man, no worries. And he didn't care about all the other things I wanted to give him. And in that moment, I realized that in this world, if we don't ask what we actually want, then we'll never get it. Closed mouths can never be fed. And throughout the podcasting journey, I have really strengthened my muscle in having to ask for the things that I actually want. If I think about wanting a great guest on my podcast, I find them on Instagram, I DM them. I look for people who have them in their contact, and I just view my own self-worth differently now. That, hey, if this is someone who I'd want on my podcast, why would they not want to come on my podcast? Why would they not want to collaborate with me when we put in so much effort into creating amazing content and reels of this person? Has there been people that have said no to me? Yes. Has there been people that have not even replied to me? Yes. But I just keep going, because if you never ask, the answer is always guaranteed to be no. This can relate to any area in life. I bet you that there's something or someone that is on your mind right now that you're wanting to ask them for something, or you're wanting to ask for something. And there's some sort of story inside of your head that's telling you that you can't do it, you're not good enough, you're not there yet. Whatever the story is telling you as to why you can't do it. That right there is the only thing that's really stopping you from having anything you want. So as soon as you can understand that the worst thing anyone can ever say to you is no, not right now, that's it, then your whole life will freaking change. Because if you don't ask, you don't get. As a matter of fact, this is why I even suggest that people should go and start their own podcast, especially if you're in business, not just because of the brand and the audience you're going to grow, but because of the person you're going to become along the journey. You're going to have to become this person that has to go and force your way into doors, into opportunities. You're going to have to ask for collaborations. You're going to have to sell yourself over and over and over. You're going to have to go through rejections. And because of going through all these different things, you're going to become a person in the next 2, 3, 4 years that you never would have been able to become any other way, from reading books or courses or programs or anything other than actually doing the work and getting in the weeds of it. So I hope you take these 3 lessons, apply them to your business, apply them to your life, and make sure that your next 4 years are far more successful than your last 4. So if you're brand new to this channel, I would love it if you could hit the subscribe button on any platform you're listening to this or watching this right now, as I'd love to welcome you to Dream Nation. We put out episodes every single week to help you learn the skill set and the mindset to create your dream life. And if you're coming back, I'd love to welcome you back to Dream Nation. Thank you for being one of the subscribers along this journey with us. So here is to the next 300 episodes and to the journey of 1,000. And until the next episode, go out there and dream out loud.